Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. So next on our E-scrap refining, I'm going to be doing my CPUs here. So I've got quite a few Intel Pentium Pro. These are the ones you really want to look for when it comes to these, but I've got a whole mix of all kinds of different kinds, just Intel Pentium, just regular. So the first thing we want to do is I'm going to bash these up and expose some of the gold. Most of the gold in a lot of these is going to be on the inside of these. So we're going to get that exposed, and I'm going to get them all into my beaker here. But first, it's going to take me a little while. I've got to bash all these CPUs up. Get that protection. So look and see, most of the gold is in the middle of these. So this is what you want to get exposed here. Just make sure you don't have any pieces fling out. That's why I got this blanket here. There we go. Alright, I'll get all this scooped up once I'm done. Alright, you see it's probably going to take me a little while. So I'll get back to you once I'm done getting these bashed up. As you can see in some of these, it's got this gold kind of wire in there. So that's what you're looking to expose. All these pins is a very small portion of the gold that's contained in these CPUs. Mostly what you're looking for is what's on the inside. Okay, next up, we got these little CPUs. All right, I'm going to go ahead and add these to our collection. So here's all of our big CPUs, a lot of Intels, a lot of Pentium Pros. There's even a couple of junk ones, as you can see. But as you can see, we made quite a mess, but you can see some gold spackled around in some of the crumblings there. So I'm definitely going to be pouring all this into our beaker to make sure we got all the gold. I'll collect everything up in the blanket and get it all in. But first, I'm going to go ahead and bash these up too and get them in our beaker. Alright, let's see if I can't show you. You can see under there. You can see the little piece of gold plating under there. That's what we're trying to expose. Same thing here. All right. Okay, we've got all of our CPUs broken up. This is quite a bit. I'll give you a close-up here in a second, but right now I'm going to take my blanket, I'm going to scrape all these scraps and put them into the beaker with everything else. You can see there's quite a bit of gold still left on here. Even though this is probably mostly ceramic junk, I still definitely see chunks of gold in there. So I don't want to throw any gold away. Okay. Here's our busted up CPUs. We are ready to start some nitric acid treatment with these. So what we're going to do first is we're going to hit this with dilute nitric acid, because I'm actually expecting there to be quite a bit of silver in here. So I'm going to try to get all that silver out first. If I was to go straight in with Aqua regia, then I would have a whole lot of silver chloride on my hands. That's going to clog up all the filters, and it'd be really hard for me to get the pure silver out of there that way. So I'm going to hit it first with nitric acid, separate the silver first, and then we'll go into Aqua regia to get all the gold out. Alright. Okay guys, so I got all my CPUs all bashed up, ready to go. So one thing with these is I'm actually expecting a little bit of silver out of all this too. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm not going to go straight with Aqua regia on it. I'm going to get this nitric acid treatment, and I'm going to try to dissolve all the copper and silver out of there. And I'm definitely going to recover the silver that I get out. So right now, we're just going to start with some dilute nitric acid and wait until the reaction stops. I'll probably even leave it overnight just to make sure all the base metals get dissolved. And then after that, we'll go with Aqua regia and get all the gold out. Alright, so I'm going to get started with my dilute nitric acid. I'm just going to cover the CPUs and maybe a little bit of extra distilled water. Put a little bit of extra in it just to give it some room to dissolve the metals in it. Alright. Alright, once I put the nitric acid on it, I'm going to turn a little bit of heat on just to make it more efficient. So to do this though, you got to be very careful. I'm going to start at very low heat, because once that nitric acid starts to warm up and kick in, it's going to really take off. And if you got it too hot, you'll definitely have a boil over. So I got my little tray here just in case that does happen, but I'm going to start it off at extremely low heat. After a little bit more time goes by, I'm going to start increasing the heat. And here I've got about 400 milliliters of nitric acid. I think that should do the trick. That's quite a bit. So you can see it got an immediate reaction, so I'm not even going to turn on the heat just yet. I'm going to make sure, see what this does, and just to make sure we don't have a boil over. This Corning ware is perfect, it's heat resistant, so it's not going to explode on you. So you can get it about as hot as you want right here. And if we do have a boil over, hopefully it'll catch some of our silver. Alright, so just give this a little bit of time and just see what happens. So as the nitric acid starts to dissolve the base metals and the silver, it's going to get hot naturally. So you definitely want to just keep your eye on this temperature. If it gets too hot, you're definitely going to have a boil over. Okay, it's been on the heat now for about 30 minutes. So I've gone ahead and cranked up the heat pretty good. Going to keep a close eye on it though. I underestimated how long it was going to take to bring this amount of liquid to a boil. So I've got it cranked up. Definitely getting hotter. It's just about to should be boiling here pretty soon. My goal here is to boil it for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then I'm just going to take it off and let it sit overnight. So as you can see, we're getting a nice pretty blue color coming right now. That's all the base metals going into solution. Hopefully a lot of silver and definitely some copper giving it that blue color. But Alright, so I'll let you see it when it's boiling, and then I'll take it off the heat until tomorrow. You can see it's been on the heat for a little over an hour now. I had to remove the Corningware. It doesn't look like my little heater and stirrer here is gonna have enough to make this come to a boil. So you can see it's got a little bit of a boil. It's extremely hot right now, but looks like it's probably gonna be about it. It's been on there for, like I said, a little bit over an hour. So I think this is about as hot as it's gonna get. It should be just fine though. I'll let it sit for a day. I mean, this heat is still gonna speed up the reaction, and after sitting for a day, it should be able to get all the base metals out of there. But might need to get a little bit more powerful of a heater. This is a lot of liquid for this little guy to handle, but that's okay. It shouldn't affect any of our yield at the end of all this. Okay, so it's been on the heat for about an hour and 30 minutes now. So that should be plenty. It looks like it's about as much boil as I'm going to get out of it. So it should be just fine though. I'm going to go ahead and take it off the heat and let it sit overnight. Okay everybody, welcome back. So it's been 2 days actually. I let this sit for 2 days. So right now what we're going to go ahead and do is get this liquid filtered off. So as you can see, it's turned a very nice, clear, dark blue color. Just indication that we got a bunch of base metals in solution right now. Hopefully we got all of them. So we're going to get this filtered out and then start with our gold recovery. Also, I'm going to show you how I'm going to recover the silver out of all this too, once I get it all filtered out. Alright, so let's go ahead and start the filtering process. Alright, I got my Buckner funnel here, and I got 2 coffee filters in it. I can see that some of the ceramic turned into some powder down there, so hopefully this catches all that powder. So we're going to end up with a nice clean liquid. Alright, now while this finishes filtering, I'm going to go ahead and hit this with Aqua regia and go ahead and start to dissolve our gold. Alright, so we got our base metal solution filtering right now. So what we're going to go ahead and do is hit this with Aqua regia and get this gold put into solution. So what I'm going to start off with this time is I'm actually just going to add a little splash of distilled water. Just a little bit. Alright, now we're going to go in with our hydrochloric acid. Now, even though I rinsed this a couple times, this is probably going to start to react as soon as I put the hydrochloric acid on it, because there's still going to be some remnants of nitric acid all over these CPUs still. So I'm going to go ahead and prepare for that. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and add a nitric acid.
Alright. This is another situation where you have to be very careful and watch out for a boil over. I'm going to turn it on very low heat. This is going to naturally get really hot anyway, just from the gold going into solution. So you got to keep a really close eye on this, make sure this doesn't run away on you.
You can already see we're getting a gold color. I'll move the camera up here in a little bit so you can see it better, but the reaction is already starting. See a nice gold tint. Shouldn't take too long to get all this gold to solution. Okay, this is only about 5 minutes into the reaction and you can see we got quite a reaction going. I'm going to turn down the heat a little bit. It's just naturally gotten extremely hot and boiling. So I just want to make sure, I'm going to wait till it settles down a little bit before I turn the heat back on. Anytime you get a boil over, it is just a absolute mess and just a complete disaster because just gold in solution is just going all over the place and it's just boiling aqua regia, which is not fun to try to handle. Okay, so we got our silver solution all filtered out. So while we wait on our aqua regia to do its thing with the gold, I'm going to go ahead and convert the silver in here to silver chloride. Then we can get it converted to pure silver metal. First thing, all we got to do to make silver chloride is add some hydrochloric acid to it, and that's going to drop all the silver chloride out of solution.
So we got a nice pretty little reaction out of that. I'm just going to let all this settle to the bottom and just pour off the top liquid and go ahead and get that silver chloride converted to silver metal.
Okay guys, as you can see, all the silver chloride has settled to the bottom of the beaker. So what I'm going to do is pour off the top. Then I'm going to get everything transferred into the smaller beaker here. Then get my silver chloride washed really good. Then we'll start the conversion. When you pour this out, it's almost impossible to not pour out a little bit of silver chloride, but that's not the end of the world. It's not going to change too much. All right.
See, our gold is still going. It's been about 15 minutes now. Okay, so I've washed this about 5 times. What I'm going to go ahead and do now is I'm going to convert the silver chloride into silver oxide. How we're going to do that is just use some lye. Just going to add some lye and continuously stir it until it turns a pretty dark black color. See, we got a nice black color down there. This causes this to get extremely hot. Okay, I'm going to let that settle, and then we're going to convert the silver oxide into silver metal by using sugar.
Okay, the next step, we're going to convert it into silver metal with just regular household sugar. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get our silver filtered out. Alright, got it all filtered out. You see we got a nice little filter of silver mud. Alright, I'm going to take this over, get this melted up. But first, let's check on our gold. Alright, as you can see, our reaction has stopped. I still got it on full heat. I did have to add a little bit more nitric acid. Due to the reactivity series of metals, the Aqua regia was going to dissolve all the other metals first. So I had to add a little bit more nitric acid. You got to be extremely careful when you're doing that, or it will boil over on you. So right now, we're going to go ahead and turn it off the heat. Alright, we're going to let this cool. It's going to take quite a while for this to cool. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and take out our gold solution and start the filtering process. This is still going to be extremely hot, so you got to be extremely careful.
It's cooled down a little bit, but it's still hot.
We're gonna take our filter. We got 2 bags here. Gonna dump all this stuff in there. Hopefully I get it all in one good shot. Alright, we should be good to go. So before I actually start on the second one, what I'm going to do here is a good possibility some lead ended up in here. So I'm going to take some sulfuric acid. Just give it just a few drops. This will precipitate out any lead that might have found its way in there. Alright, same thing, got 2 giant coffee filters. Just gonna pass it through one more time. Okay, we got everything all filtered. Next step, we're going to neutralize all the excess nitric acid with some urea. And we're going to precipitate all of our gold with sodium metabisulfite. Alright, so let's get started with this. And nice and slowly add in some urea.
Give that a second, give it a chance to react. Kind of interesting, I'm getting very little reaction with the urea. Okay, I got very little reaction with my urea, so I'm going to go ahead and just go straight in with my sodium metabisulfite. Definitely getting a reaction from that.
Okay, I'm going to leave this sit for an hour, maybe 2, and come back and check on it.
Alright, we're going to go ahead and siphon it out. Alright, we're going to go ahead and get it filtered out the rest of the way. Okay, just about done filtering. We're going to go ahead and splash a little bit of hydrochloric acid on it and try to clean up the gold a little bit.
Okay, I'm just going to let this finish drip drying. So we got our gold button from the last couple videos. So what I'm going to do is just throw this into the crucible just before I melt it. Just mix it all together and then melt it into a bigger button and then get a weight on it and just see how we did with our CPUs. Okay, well that concludes the video for our CPU gold recovery, gold and silver recovery. So as you see, our gold button is getting quite a bit bigger. And from that one, we got a nice chunk of silver too. So that's just extra bonus with the CPU, so it's the first time I've gotten silver from my E-scrap. So it's a pretty good yield. So I'm gonna go ahead and get a weight on it. So we got 20.97 grams. So that is pretty good. That is more than I thought I was going to get out of these. So that puts that, the CPUs, I got 11.67 grams out of those CPUs. Now, I expected those Pentium Pros to be a pretty good yield, but the rest of them, I didn't have much hope for them to be too much gold in them. But I guess there was more than I thought. I got quite a chunk of silver here too. I'm going to get a weight on that one. 17.41 grams of silver. So that's pretty good. 11.67 grams of gold and 17 grams of silver out of those CPUs. So all together, so it was 44 of the large CPUs, 13 of those were Pentium Pros. The rest of them were, it was about 64 of those little tiny CPUs. So just to give you an idea, with the Pentium Pros were the ones I was really counting on, and they definitely came through. And I think all the other CPUs had a little bit more gold in them than I was expecting. So that's a good yield, gold and silver. And CPUs now take the lead in the my highest yield so far. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you join me for part 4, where we're going to be doing the NLCC capacitors. And from that, I'm going to be trying to get mostly silver and palladium out of them. Hopefully get a little bit of gold out of them, but I'm really shooting for some palladium out of those. So I've never done that one before, so it should be interesting. So we'll see how that goes. So, all right, thanks again for watching.